myself. It's the middle of December. I currently have no steady vehicle to drive and stay warm in because my dear Slicktop, when we brought it back together, has decided to do nothing but give us problems. I think it's time to just bite the bullet, and we're going to take all of this back out, and we're going back to the tried and true chassis. We're going back to the work truck 4-seater. I wanted to put it down this winter so we could get our 600 horsepower VG twin turbo swap finished and ready for it, but I just need a car right now, and I know that car works. I'm having some weird body electrical problems, and I'm having some fuel pump problems with this car. Swapped out multiple fuel pumps, still the same problem. Instead of sitting here bashing my head fixing it, we're just going to switch to the other chassis. Not to mention, this new transmission I put in here decided to lose second gear, so can't even go into second. It just, yeah, I'm just kind of fed up with this car right now. For all the work we've put into it, for what little we've got back, let's go ahead, tear this thing down, get it to where we can tear it down completely in the spring and repair the rear end of this where it's been crashed. I've missed that car so much. I guess it's the perfect excuse to get back in it. So muddy out here too. Just kill it before it gets too warm, because I don't want to be taking off burning hot test pipes. Arsenal of tools are ready. Let's get to work. Step number 1, remove your battery post. One will suffice. Generally power is my preference for when you remove the starter, so then you don't swing your power wire around and ground it out on your exhaust. Now let's go ahead, pull all of our wiring harness connectors. Now we got all that unplugged, we actually went ahead and pulled our fuel filter off and all of our rail and lines, because that actually came from the 4-seater. So we'll definitely need to use that again. Not to mention the filter's brand new. Let's go look for a drain pan, start our radiator bleeding process, and then we can get to pulling the front end off. Went ahead, unplugged our alternator to transmission harness over here. Unbolted the battery harness from the chassis over here and from the bracket on the firewall as well. I think now it's time to start pulling our radiator. I'm going to try to keep some of the fluid in, then fill it up, lift a couple quarts in, just that way I don't have to put as much in it when I put it back in my other car. Save me a little bit of time and money. Oh no, put them bolts back. Empty your drain pan, clean it out. Now let's throw it, not far enough, under the car so we can catch some power steering fluid. I like to crack this 8mm loose first before you crack this big bolt, banjo bolt, so that way this isn't leaking all over you when you're trying to remove that. ATF is super nasty. Don't use power steering fluid. Now let her drain. Unfortunately, we're going to make a mess all over our subframe yet again. The old 15/16. This thing always gives me problems. It always wants to crack loose this bottom fitting here, not just the top. Put a nice trusty wrench down there. Does the job. I think we're officially done with everything on the top side. Let's go ahead, begin to lift the car up on some blocks and get to pulling the exhaust and the transmission. Let's get to work. Exhaust first, and then on to drive shaft and shifter. Pesky test pipes are off. Thank goodness. Only had 2 bolts get hung up on me because it's literally impossible to get a wrench on the backside. Pull off our slave cylinder. Sweet, now we got all kinds of access. While we're here, let's pull our 14 mil engine mount nuts. I reckon while we're here on the side, let's go ahead and pull our transmission wiring off. Like so. Pull that kind of out the way. Let's go ahead and pull the drive shaft. Since I was thinking about myself when I was down here doing the exhaust, I went ahead and pulled the 4 bolts already. Now it's just a matter of, can we get it broke loose from the diff? That's a little more like it. I'm going to pry my exhaust down and slide that drive shaft right out there. Perks of a one-piece drive shaft, you don't have to pull your whole cap back, just your test pipes. Now we're on to the shifter. Got 2 Teflon nuts, 13 mil here on the bottom side, and our 12 mil on each side for the striker bolt. That's one way to crack it loose, very aggressively. I'm actually not going to run a short throw next time. I feel like this is partial to my shifting issues, and I just don't think I enjoy the feel of a short throw. Nice. No, I dropped the hardware. Considering we're running out of daylight, I think our main priority, let's just pull the transmission out and we will get this thing back on the ground so we can pull it out first thing in the morning. I think everything will go much easier and smoother sailing when we can see and it's not 10 degrees outside. It's a brisk one tonight. Now for our couple bell housing bolts. It's a good thing I only put 4 bell housing bolts in, so then this process is much easier for me. For you, probably not so much. 1 bolt. 2 bolt. It actually looks like my rack's leaking somewhere up here. Maybe a good thing we're doing this, that way we know kind of to check that out, maybe to pull it apart. Hopefully we don't have to rebuild the rack completely, but it's a possibility. I'm pretty sure this solenoid right here doesn't even work because I have no power steering when I'm sitting idle. I guess let's see how quick we can pull this thing out. We got all 5, we actually had 5 bell housing bolts. I forgot I do 5 because 4 just sounds a little sketch. Wow, what was hanging it up was this bolt. It was sticking out and the battery harness was holding on to it. It was getting stuck on the firewall. That's a first. Just like that, our transmission's out. Literally, if it wasn't for that bolt, this would have been a 45-second ordeal. We're starting to get it down. Now all we got to do tomorrow is remove the 2 heater core hoses from the back and pull the engine. Hopefully pretty quick day tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Let's actually go grab a shifter to throw on this thing, a stock shifter, and see how it feels shifting it in a second. I'm too curious. I don't know. I just don't know what to think with it, so I really want to see kind of how it is, or if second is just gone and this trans is kind of trash to me now. So I don't have it fully secured. I've got 1 nut on one side, and then on the other side I've just got a bolt going through. Here's second. No, this is third, fourth, first. Shifts just fine. Now watch us go back into second. It actually goes into second gear now. So that makes me feel way better. Shifter's not busted, or trans isn't busted. It was just the shifter. Like, let's put this trans over in the shop and we will catch you guys tomorrow bright and early. It's a new day. Let's get to work. Already got the engine hoist out here and all pulled up. I like to run a chain between this runner and this runner from here to keep it level so I can pull it just straight up. So I actually kind of forgot, since we're pushing the car back, I have to pull this up more so I angle the engine straight up, or else the clutch is not going to clear that firewall. Couldn't do much recording there. It's now free. I just pumped it up a couple times, but I had to pull it back and then lock my foot on the jack or the hoist while I lifted it up. Now we can get to them heater core hoses much better. Figured I'd wait till we lifted the engine up. Totally forgot about this little pinhole that I got here on the heater core pipe. I would change it, but we'll just overlap it yet again. Now everything back here on the rear and the side is now disconnected. Just got to pull it and make sure to angle it so that header right there does not scratch the whole frame rail. And took our alternator harness right there because it works perfectly. Let's start pulling this thing. One of the next things I want to do on here is I really want to do a catch can, because you can tell I'm getting a lot of oil through here. And I just don't like that. These silicone hoses from Z1 sweat terribly. And I feel like this is where my oil leak's going. I don't think I actually have bad valve sim seals. So hopefully if we can put one on this, we can eliminate that possibility. Another thing that needs some attention is this idle valve here. It's seen a little bit of damage, so we're just going to replace this unit right here. Other than this PCV sweating and causing a bunch of nastiness back here, everything stayed pretty clean for 15,000 miles. Wow, especially the block. The block is still fresh. Granted, I did convert it, but yeah, headers look bad. They were on a really rusty car, on the black still in car. So then let's pull our wiring harness. There we got our entire wiring harness installed in the other car. Gotcha guys, you thought I was just pulling it out. Not only that, did we bring the wiring harness, get it all plugged in, routed to the fuse box. We also put our clutch master cylinder, hooked it up to the clutch pedal, ran our one-piece line, and got our slave ready to be installed. Now we're trying to muscle the thing up here about every 4 foot we can push it, and then chalk the back wheel. It's a bit muddy out here, and usually when we put the engine hoist out here in the way, there's no way for me to hook up my truck and tow the car. Man, I've missed this Z so much. It's so nice in here. Glad we're back. Probably a cool 15-20 minutes later, we finally got the car up here. Now let's start to kind of inch this downwards so we can actually move the car the rest of the way forward. Because now we have a little bit of area that we can just keep wiggling it back and forth until we get it right where we want it. And right now, we got to move it back about a foot and turn the wheel so we can pull this side outwards a little bit. Main priority is to get one of your engine mount studs in the little hole. Once you do one side, you can fit it and just swing the engine around to fit your second side. Engine mount is now fully secured. As we drop the load off the engine, it should fall back towards the firewall. Yep, looks like we're all good. Now we can finally start making it a car again. Yes. Usually I don't remove it or install it with the bumper still attached, because you can see we are riding on the jack now. Yeah, I don't even know if I can pull it out. Usually your wind deflectors down on your tension rods for your brakes or your brake ducts, that's kind of what gets in the way with the hoist. Now either got to lift it or just yank it out. Let's go ahead and take this nose panel off. I don't want to have to bring any water in to get my MAF wet. Plus the red I think looks better than this one. This one definitely needs to be painted. Pull our bumper off. Easy way. It's actually, okay, never mind. I thought it actually had bolts on. Sick. Something steady wins the race. Got her all lifted up. Let's grab our trans and wrestle her out here. Got a little bit of daylight left, so let's get the tough part done. Wasn't super clear last night, but this definitely shifts into second. Right there, second gear, no problem at all. Was the shifter's problem. Has plenty of fluid too. I hope it's a good shot over there. It's the best that I can see. It's about the limited range that I got. Trying to lift this thing up while I get the jack under. And then I can kind of tilt it and drag it around. I know that the ground for the battery harness or starter cable is going to be in the way, so I'm going to move it first. There we go. Had me wondering for a minute if I was even going to be able to get it there. This clip's exactly 5 minutes long as I check right now. Took me probably 3 minutes to get this thing wiggled in there. Growth, that's what we need around here, guys. And this right here is all you need to get them bell housing bolts in and out. About 1.5 foot, give or take a couple, another 6 inches. Swivel, 14 mil. That's all you need. You don't actually need 3 foot to get it from the end of the transmission. I think that's way harder than kind of hitting it at an angle. This gets it every time. Starting to get really cold out here, so let's hurry up and get this trans in. Trans is fully bolted on, thank goodness. Now let's go ahead before we actually forget and let's hook up these heater core lines, because before we throw the wiring harness on, it's much easier to have these on than to do it after the fact. I'm actually about to take my nightly bike ride for some exercise while I have a little bit of light left. So let's go ahead and remove a couple more things here off the Z, and then we're totally done with this chassis. And all that is these under headlight pipes, which I believe are only held on right here. Super stiff, super cold outside. Got our handful of goodies here, including our nose panel. Let's go on a bike ride. Just got back and I got pretty much everything underneath the car ready to go under the car, but I think we may tackle everything up here first. Went ahead, got our power steering hooked up, and before we left we actually threw our intake system back on so we can actually go ahead, plug in that MAF, throw our PTU across the top. We're all hooked up there. Definitely didn't mean for that to happen like that. I guess if it works, right? Man, everything's got frost on it. Can't forget about your overflow. Thankfully, I found my old radiator brackets and they actually have brand new hood prop clips. Sick. Radiator brackets and radiator itself fully mounted now, re-secured. We also just went ahead and got our whole wiring harness plugged in. I really need to get my vert done so I can get back in the shop. When it comes to installing a fuel line in the dead of cold or winter, lubrication is your best friend. Yeah, that's what we like to see. Yeah, it went. Cruise. Throttle cable's all hooked up. All of our fuel lines are snugged down. Nose panel on. I guess there was really no reason to do that. Really just to cover the MAF for the night. We also went ahead and threw the battery in. Got it all hooked up. So we did just go ahead and mount the shifter already. We put this 12 mil bolt through the bottom. Now we just got to line up the shift fork and then put a locking nut here on the bottom. Shifter's very easy to put in. Shifter's now in and at a good tightened spec. You don't want to leave it too loose, but you also want to leave it so tight that you can't shift back and forth. I actually got to pull this coat off. This thing makes me way too big under here. I always like to check the yoke before I put it in the trans just to make sure it's at least pretty clean or sufficiently clean and doesn't just put a bunch of contaminants in my trans. Now that that's in, install all of our bolts. The head on this bolt actually gets stuck on the drive shaft and doesn't allow it to turn all the way. So that's how you tighten this down. If you have to, release your parking brake, put it neutral and spin the drive shaft here. And then you can kind of move that flange to where you can get better access to it if you can't really fit up on the top part. Victory, finally. All 4 bolts are on and drive shaft is secured. Theoretically, the only thing holding us back now are these dreaded test pipes. Can I build up the courage to do them? We shall see. Everything on the underside of the car is now finished up, including the starter and everything associated there. While we're here, let's go ahead and fill up our power steering, at least with what we can. Well, we've officially ran out of things to do. Fluid's filled both ways. As mindful as I'm trying to be of the neighborhood, at least we got catalytic converters now. Let's fire this thing up and hopefully idle it out to bleed a little bit of coolant. Dang, that really stands out in the light. I've totally forgot I swapped Prism Mike for that so he didn't have a blue one. Just remembered, we need to hook the ECU up. That's actually the last step. I really don't like how there's something loose in here. Let's see if we got another one to swap out. Unless I can open this quick like. Whatever could it be? I guess we will see. I don't think that's supposed to be in there. Let's hope not, at least. Let me know in the comments below if you have any idea if this potentially came from my ECU. I think we're good. Now she's all ready to go. Let's fire her up. Now here's the real test. Oh, this clutch actually works. And it runs. So happy. Now let's go look a couple things over and make sure everything is working how it should. Got her idling out pretty good. Just turn the heat on because the heat just raised a little bit. So now we're officially going to start bleeding the coolant. Uh-oh, looks like our low fuel light's on. Thankfully, Gabby just got off work and she decided to pull up here and give me some light since my light just died. She's pretty rad, but I think it's probably a good time just to kill this. I don't want to run it out of gas. I'm ready to drive this thing tomorrow. We'll catch you guys then. Today's the day we get this thing driving. Just went, secured us a nice 2 gallons to top up our fuel tank. And we actually just went ahead and fixed that exhaust leak, hopefully, because we put the one missing nut on the exhaust manifold. Just how we left it. I think we're gonna go ahead and put the gas in first, obviously, before we fire it up. I'm pretty sure it's like a camping stake. I just wedged it in there so the fuel door flap stays open. Thirsty girl. Only had a slight overflow mishap. Get that titanium key. Always forget about the clutch. Factory manual problems. Yep, we need to tighten it down. Let's do it before it gets too hot. Still got a little bit of an exhaust leak. I think that's because I didn't trust my better judgment and I reused a split exhaust gasket down here. But it's no big deal. We can always change that out. Let's go ahead and put our bumper back on. Now for the moment I've been waiting for quite some time. To have a car that I can actually drive and go sell and buy parts with. Ahead, installed my center trim, got us a shift knob. Let's go grab a little bit more gas before we go to take our big final test drive. We just went ahead and tightened up all of our lug nuts because I forgot. We just kind of yoinked them on with the impact, and let's just say thank goodness we did. Let's give her a real test. Here's the real nut and bolt check, first railroad tracks. Wow, that was incredibly smooth, like smoother than it's ever been. That was strange. Now we're in 5th gear. I think the first time that I've used this trans, we've been in 5th gear. Clutch isn't slipping, car's just terribly slow. Yes, cruise control still works. I've missed this car so much, you guys, you have no idea. I just love Z's to begin with, and to be able to ride in one as a daily is just a blessing. It takes a lot of work to keep one up as a daily because there's a lot of maintenance, a lot of preventative maintenance. I'm sorry if this video is kind of bogus to you guys. I feel terrible for making the video again. I'm just happy to have a car back, to be able to have something I can drive wherever as needed, and then to go drop parts off, make sales, make money, to pick parts up, to make some money. I mean, to build cars at that. It just, with my actual truck being down right now, there's not a whole lot I can do travel-wise and parts-wise, so I want to try to make the most of it count. Not only that, as far as content-wise, this next week is devoted completely to gutting and stripping the full side of that convertible to finish it out so we can get to recoating that or repairing it. We also may throw another video in where we're kind of working with the drift car. Reason being, E85 is $2 a gallon right now. There's no reason I should not be trying to fix this thing to drive it at least. So I think that's something we're going to tackle. I've got a spare fuel pump now, a Walbro 485 we can throw in, and maybe eliminate this weird surge, I don't know, issue that we're having. Not only that, we've got some more VR4 content coming this weekend, where we actually get to pull the motor, strip it down, check the crank out, check the internals out, and see if it's something that we want to ship or rebuild. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this gives you guys some motivation to get out there and work on your Z's, since it's winter time and it's the best time to do so, because the last thing we want to do is have our Z's sit during the on season. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next one, and we'll catch you then. Peace.